All right, welcome back. Let's just spend the next few minutes talking about the IWF World Championship. Damilola, let me get your thoughts quickly. We're going to join one of our friends in Doha shortly, but let me get your own thoughts
Yeah.
quickly. There's been a lot of talk about the weather, the state of readiness, a whole lot of issues. There's Seb Cole saying, look, I want Christian Coleman to win. I don't want Justin Gatlin. All these kind of issues. But I'm very sure all of those things will be pushed aside.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to see the games.
Yeah, everybody wants to see the games. In fact, that was the response I was going to give you, that all these issues you are highlighting, once the competition starts, those things goes down to the back burner. Except when you now have a major incident during the competition, which we don't hope for. Because irrespective of what you think of Qatar, it does not do us or anybody any good favor if there is a major crisis or calamity, any negative incident. So I think Doha will be ready. The competition will be tough. I hope Nigeria will get a few medals. Although I have my little concern in 100 and 200 meters for women. But I hope that we'll get something, and then the men also push their weight a little. It would be nice to just come back with some medals and not come back empty-handed, really.
All right, I can agree less. It would be good to get something from Doha. All right, let's quickly link up with our friend Bambo Akoni, CEO of Making of Champions. It's going to be joining us from Doha. Hello, Bambo, if you can hear me. It's good to have you join us tonight on the show.
Yemi, thanks for having me as always.
All right, let me just ask. You're there, we are here. What's the state of readiness? Is the fever catching up? Is the city of Doha ready? Are the people eagerly anticipating the World Championship? What can you tell us?
Yeah, so I arrived last night, and I've been to the stadium. I've seen the facilities. I've felt the air conditioning in the stadium. So I think Doha is ready. I'm looking forward to these championships, almost like a test run for the World Cup in 3 years' time. So the facilities look great. Everything looks well organized. I think they're ready to go.
Okay, what about the fears about the weather, the climate? Even Seb Cole, the IWF president, had to answer some questions, about all of those. But do you think those things will be an issue when the competition begins?
Well, it's certainly going to be very interesting because right from when you leave the well air-conditioned airport, even at night, you go straight into 35 to 40-degree weather. So it's going to be really, really interesting. As you said, Sepco had to answer a lot of questions, especially about running the marathon in these conditions. They've moved the marathon to midnight. And it's going to be really, really interesting to see how those athletes in particular cope. The athletes in the stadium will be fine because everything is well air-conditioned. But it definitely is going to be a different World Championships. There's no morning session. Everything is packed into the late afternoon, straight through to the late evening. So it's going to be really interesting to see how things pan out.
All right, what's the vibe in the environment? What's the vibe that you're getting? How well do people who know I love athletics? That's on one side. And what's the vibe you're getting? The potential matchups. How excited? I mean, in the studio here, we're talking about the potential Gatlin, Christian Coleman in the 100 meters. It's so important that even Sepko had to say something about it. So can you give us anything that you've gathered about the vibe, how well do people love I love athletics, and some of the potential matchups people are eagerly anticipating?
Well, there's a lot of interesting matchups. You've already mentioned Cole and Gatlin. You have some events where there's some clear favorites, like Noah Lyles in the 200 meters. I'm sure the defending champion Ramu Gulia will have something to say about that. And we're hoping that Divine Oduduru can come back to form and be a factor in the 200 meters. But beyond that, there's a lot of buzz about potential world records in Doha. A lot of people are looking at events like the 400-meter hurdles for both men and women as events where records could actually fall at these championships.
All right. I can't let you go without asking you about Nigeria. So let me just put it to you straight. As a Nigerian,
Yep.
It's easy to be objective. It's easy to just. But as a Nigerian, where are they? Where are our, what are our prospects? The events you think if we get our acts right, we might get something.
Okay. So I think this is the one World Championships in a very long time where there's some optimism about the Nigerian team. In the last couple of decades, we've only won 2 medals, which was Blessing winning long jump silver and 200-meter bronze in 2013, 6 years ago. So now we have perhaps 5, 6, 7 events where Nigeria could potentially be in the mix for medals. You have Tobi Amusan in the 100-meter hurdles. You have Esebrome in the women's long jump. As I mentioned before, Divine in the 200. I really want us to look out for Raymond Ekenwo in the 100 meters. After what he did in Rabat at the African Games, it's really anybody's guess as to whether he can go further than that. For the throws, you have Chukwuebuka and Ekwechi in the short put. And I would say also the relay teams, the women's and men's 4x1, if we can get our acts together there, then anything is possible. Now, how many medals will Nigeria actually win? I mean, I think if we've only won 2 in the last couple of decades, I would be satisfied if we win 1 or 2 medals. If we get up to 5, then I think everything just fell into place and worked out perfectly for us. Realistically, I would say 1 or 2 medals at these championships would be a huge success for Nigeria and a stepping stone for doing more at the Olympics next year.
All right, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to ask what's going to be your yardstick. But since you've shown me your measurement for what you would think is success at this championship, what to you will be an abysmal performance or maybe what you could say failure in Doha for Team Nigeria?
To be honest with you, I don't think, even if we get no medals, I don't think it will necessarily be a failure. It will really depend on the individual performances of the athlete. I mean, if athletes like Tobi Amusan or Esebrome can equal their PBs in their events and they still don't get medals, you can't really fault them, So I would look at individual performances rather than just saying that, okay, if Nigeria doesn't get a medal, then it was a failure. If Nigeria doesn't get a medal, then it's what we've done for the last 20 years, apart from one edition. So I think it's really important to look more at the individual performances of the athletes and use that to project, okay, what are they likely to do at the Olympics next year? What are they likely to do at the Olympics in 2024? And really build towards that rather than trying to assign, a failure because we didn't get this certain number of medals. I hope, if we can get 5, then we can party all day and all night. But if we get 1 or 2, I think we should be content.
All right. This just came to my mind. So I'm going to ask you this before I let you go. This is the first time in over a decade, even more than that we're going to have this championship without a certain Usain Bolt. So do you think a lot of the buzz or a lot of the excitement is probably watered down or not there because Jamaica's Usain Bolt is, not here?
Yeah, Usain Bolt is a huge shadow on athletics today. I remember being in the stadium in London 2 years ago, those fateful moments where he didn't win his final races. He came 3rd in the 100 and didn't finish in the relays. And that put a shadow over the whole event with the sports, supposed bad boy, Justin Gatlin, carrying the 100 meters then. So, look, the sport has to go on. It has to move on without Usain. I'm very certain at these championships, a new contender for the poster boy of athletics will emerge. Whether it's Noah Lyles in the 200, whether it's one of the guys doing amazing times in the 400-meter hurdles, 1 or 2 athletes are going to emerge to really help to take this sport forward. But besides that, I would say, I'm really looking forward to the 100 meters. Can Justin retain his title? Is Christian Coleman going to take over? There's a lot to look forward to at these championships.
Bamba Akoni, I want to thank you for your time on the show. It's been nice, having you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so that's Bamba Akoni, team lead, making of champions, and just laid it all for us. But I'm going to ask you. I know you probably wouldn't want to answer, but you're on the spot already. What to you will happen at the end of the day, and you say, I give Team Nigeria a pass mark for their performance in Doha?
I think I will just align with him, really. I think I'll align with him. Not getting a medal can be disappointing, really, because that becomes the measure of what... but realistically, do we really think that athletes are at that level where they can get a gold? I mean, we're talking of 100 meters, and we're talking of Gatlin and Coleman here. Nigerians are also competing in this event, and we probably are not thinking... Probably a semi-final, a final is what we feel is their level at this point. But then if you get to the final and then you're still able to meet your personal best and then you don't get a medal, like you said, it probably is not your fault. It's probably what we've invested over the last few years that we are reaping. And then it will just be a foundation for us to build and think
so it's fair to judge based on individual performances, not just taking a look at Team Nigeria and say you didn't win medals, but look for improvements in personal...
Realistically, even if we get 1 or 2 medals, like you mentioned, it's going to be largely due to individual effort.
Okay, all right. So we'll leave it at that, and we'll see what happens. Everything begins tomorrow in Doha at the World Athletics Championships, and hopefully Nigeria will be able to get something. All right, let's address the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the big one now. Coach Rohr has unveiled his squad list, 23 players for the prestige friendly against Brazil. Damilola, let's take a look at the list, and we'll run through the list, and you run through some names as well. And while we're looking at those names, you tell me if there are surprises, if you think there's somebody that has been left out that should have been included or otherwise. Goalkeepers, let's start with this. Look at the 3 names. Read it out and tell me, is there anybody here?
Yeah, Francis Zoe, Ezenwa, Maduka. The same goalkeepers we had for the Ukraine friendly. The only surprising thing for me is that for the second game running, our first choice at the Nations Cup is not here. And that don't usually happen.
It brings a lot of questions.
That's it. And for me, the reason why I'm even questioning this is not because he has a permanent slot. I mean, we all say that in the national team, the shirt shouldn't be guaranteed.
Yeah.
But if a goalkeeper is your first choice as early as June, July,
so what happened?
If you're even going to drop him, I think there should be some kind of explanation. Is it that you feel his time is done with the national team, or you want to cut the age,
or you think that when he was number 1, you had no choice?
I mean,
there has to be...
For example, let me give you a very simple example. When Southgate was going to drop Rooney, it was asked that, why did you drop him? And he said, there is no beautiful way to say it other than the fact that for the guys playing in his position, those guys are doing better at this time than Rooney. And that's why there is no space for him. Maybe the next game, maybe he'll be back, but for this particular... So that's basically an explanation. And for me to have our first choice, because as far as I'm concerned, these are friendly matches. Whoever keeps going now is still not first choice. The last major tournament we've had, Akpeyi was our first choice.
All right,
and it's been dropped without any explanation.
You think maybe we'll get to finally see Maduka Okoye?
I'll be surprised to see him play against Brazil if he didn't play against you.
I mean, if you cannot try, you cannot try. No, I'll be surprised as well. Okay, defenders. Let's see. Let's flip it and go to the defenders and see if the... okay, these are the midfielders. Should we just take this one and
yeah, of course, we'll come back to defenders.
Let's take a look at the midfielders. Alex Iwobi, Anderson Esiti, you have Ogeneka Retebo, you have Wilfred Ndidi, you have Joseph Aribo. A lot of question marks. Got injured recently. Yeah. And Ramon Aziz. If you score against Barcelona, people will notice you. I hope it wasn't because of the goal. I just hope that his performance...
You took that off me, really, because that was what
I hope his performances... I mean, on social media, I didn't want to say it, but I'm forced to say it. One person that saw a Nigerian player get invited was saying, I hope the national team handlers are making the right decisions. You don't just invite somebody because they scored.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't just invite somebody because they scored.
The performances over the ball, does it merit?
Again, it's not even just that. The question I'm asking is it the solution to whatever problem we're having in the midfield?
Yeah, how different is he
from the ones we have? Because except that recently, now we're beginning to have Iwobi as a midfielder. Up until the Nations Cup, he used to be a forward. So maybe that's a reason why Iwobi is now being pushed back to play the creative midfield position. Because I think that's where we've been lacking in our midfield, the creative position. And I do not say Ramon Aziz. Don't get me wrong, he's a good player. If Genetro thinks he needs it in his team, he's welcome. But I feel he's not...
that's why I have a problem with Genetro as well. If you invite Ramon Aziz, if you invite Maduka Okoye, give us an opportunity to see this
play.
guy and probably understand the reason behind inviting him. But if you invite him and you don't use him, I don't understand.
I mean, we see that all over the world.
You have some explanation
to make. And we've seen players that have been invited to Super Eagles before, never get a playing time, and yet they will drop at some point.
Yeah.
And then you have...
There was a time for over a year, it was Dele Alapasi was always getting... Yeah. And nobody
gave
him a chance that we could see, does this guy merit an invitation? All right, let's look at our defenders before we get carried away. Olaino, it's in the team. Abdullahi Shehu also there. Shidozie, I was there in the team as well. William Trust Ekong in the news. In the squad, I beg your pardon. Kenneth Omero also. Jamilu Collins still there. And Shemi Ajayi as well. This one, I probably can't argue with this.
With this. The only surprise is that gradually you can almost say that your Imbo wall has finally been dismantled. That's why we might have to say that. And I think it's necessary that we do. Maybe again, I think the coach needs to start looking at the left back position. I'm not too comfortable with Jamilu Collins personally, based on the last performance against Ukraine and the last few ones. But I feel maybe the coach just wants to give him some more time. But I think we need another option in that position. Yeah.
Okay, I can't agree less. All right, so forwards, Victor Osimhen. This guy is the name on everyone's lips.
It would be a sin to drop him now.
You just can't. You can't
drop him now.
No, you just can't drop him. Moses Simon still in there. Samuel Chukwueze, Samuel Kalu. Paul Onuachu. Of course, you also have Emmanuel Dennis and Peter Alaika. Another guy.
Another go against each other.
Yeah, I'm just hoping it wasn't just because of the goal. I'm hoping that it was because his performances in September merits a call-up. You don't just get into the team because because everybody's watching the UEFA Champions League and I don't know.
Well, when we're going to tournaments, you probably will not take this number of forwards.
Surely.
So I probably will want to excuse him, that maybe wants to look at what other thing this guy can bring to the table. The question will be, when you bring them to the team, are they going to get game time? That's the point.
That's the argument. That's the point. On social media, that's the argument. A lot of people believe that Gernot Rohr is very cautious.
Yeah.
And so trust me on that day, if it's the Gernot Rohr that I know,
most of these
you're
guys
going to see
the regulars.
You're going to see the Francis Zor goal. So the question is, why are these guys here?
Why are these guys here? And that's the point, because when you bring these guys, it must be because you are trying to test different things.
Or you want to put the other guys on their toes.
The formation, or you want to put it. But
and the only way to do that is to let them play.
You are not putting anybody on their toes if these guys are on the bench.
If Ogenekaro Etebonos is going to play.
Of course, there is no competition.
William Trust Ekong is going to play.
He probably knows that those guys are just there to keep the numbers, 23.
So what will make him step up his game? Nothing.
Nothing. I think that's the key thing. I don't have a problem generally with the league.
Any of the invitees, yeah.
Except that I feel in midfield, we still need to start looking at the creative side of our game. Because we're a bit static.
We've not solved the problem.
We've not solved the problem.
We're still bringing players who are like
If you check the game against Ukraine very well, Zinchenko played more the creative role for, even though we know him not to be a creative midfielder, but he played that role, he carried the team, and we need that player in the Super Eagles as well that can do it. It will be his trying, but maybe we also need another option there, just to see if there is something that could be better than what we have.
All right, so that's it. Let's also talk about Super Eagles Team B. That's what they call them. Of course, they have their own list out too as well for the WAFU Cup. And of course, in that one, 21 players have been invited. We're going to go on a break shortly, but before we go on that break, your thoughts. They get the chance to, remedy what they did the other time. They're playing against Togo. Probably get back their own pound of flesh and go and sort the matter of the Chan out later. But here in the WAFU Cup,
the most important pound of flesh is the second leg for Chan.
This one doesn't matter.
As far as I'm concerned, even if you beat Togo here and there, you still lose that second leg.
It wouldn't count.
It wouldn't count for anything. Okay. Good list. Maybe because the reason why it's with the Super Eagles is not here. I had felt the first time that he has no business with being in the Chan Eagles. Because for me, if you're an established Super Eagles goalkeeper, whether second or third choice, you shouldn't be in the Chan team again. Right. Let other people take their slots.
Okay. That's Damilola for you. Just laying it down. All right, we need to go on a break. When we return, the few minutes we have left, we'll talk about the Golden Eaglets and some other things in the amazing world of sports. Join us again.